Something a little different today as we do our little stroll around the yard. I want to read some text from an article called Eight Old School Gardening Tips from the Father of Landscape Architecture, Frederick Law Olmsted, by John Gorey. If strolling through a city park has been a rare source of solace for you in the past 2 months, you can probably thank Frederick Law Olmsted. Born in 1822, America's first and foremost landscape architect, was a passionate advocate for truly public parks and the conservation of natural landscapes, at a time when the only real green public space found in most American cities was the local graveyard. While his specialty was creating sprawling natural escapes amid the chaos of America's fast-growing cities, Olmsted's design philosophy offers lessons for our backyards, too. After all, he applied some of the same principles to his 1.76-acre lot in Brookline, Massachusetts. So if you are looking to turn your yard into a serene retreat from city life, here are some landscaping tips from the founding father of America's urban parks. First, emulate nature. Olmsted was no fan of stick-straight hedges and right angles. Nature flows in curves and waves, and he sought to emulate as well as enhance its tousled natural beauty. He embraced rolling meadows broken up by irregular clusters of trees, and sought to mimic nature's vastness and mystery by contrasting lush layers of foliage. Using different shapes and shades of green, enhanced the effects of sunlight and shadow, and created perspective between foreground features and an indistinct backdrop. So instead of a square, flat lawn with crisp, straight edging, don't be afraid to add some curves and a variety of plants and ground cover. Second, use native, low-maintenance plants. Olmsted wasn't strict about using only native plants. In fact, he imported quite a few European species in the U.S. But he at least tried to choose plants that fit their setting and would thrive in nature's care without excessive maintenance. Most importantly, he avoided using elements that clashed with the local environment, like a tropical flower in upstate New York or a cool-weather turf grass in the sun-baked Southwest. Whenever possible, use plants native to your area. They're fully adapted to local conditions and will therefore need less water, fertilizer, and overall maintenance to thrive. They'll also stay in balance with nearby plants as opposed to overtaking your yard like an invasive species can. Third, use nature like a proverbial fig leaf. Olmsted wanted people to feel immersed in natural settings and be able to reflect without distraction, so he used stone as a building material when possible and camouflaged necessary but unseemly man-made elements with his foliage. One of his greatest feats in Central Park was to hide the crosstown traffic traversing Manhattan from the view of park visitors. At his Brookline home, he added trellises so that ivy could climb the exterior walls of the house. Create meandering paths. Whether you're exploring Central Park or wandering outside the Biltmore Estate in Asheville, North Carolina, a hallmark of Olmsted's landscapes are winding paths that branch off this way and that over small bridges, along creeks, through meadows, under leafy canopies. The effect is tranquil and mesmerizing and allows you to get lost in the landscape while knowing you're not really lost because all the paths eventually meander back into one another. Even in a relatively small yard of his Brookline home and office, Olmsted created a winding gravel footpath, complete with a bench that beckons one to take a stroll. When most of us think about laying a stone path in our yard, it's often to get from one place to another. But maybe a path doesn't have to go anywhere at all. Focus on the gestalt. Surprisingly, Olmsted didn't like the concept of gardening and frowned upon showy flowers or prized specimens that called too much attention to themselves. Just as he wanted his parks to be enjoyed by all social classes, he valued an egalitarian landscape that worked in harmony. On one occasion, he noted that while a bright hybrid flower in a glass vase may capture our immediate attention, a common wildflower in a grassy meadow might touch us more deeply and have a more soothing influence, though we're barely aware of seeing it, as just another piece in a grander pastoral portrait. Remember that function matters. Olmsted valued function over form. Service must precede art. As long as considerations of utility are neglected or overridden by considerations of ornament, there will be no true art, he said. Nature offers us so many useful creations. Use them. If your basement experiences water seepage, maybe your soil could benefit from some beautiful but thirsty plants, like winterberry or Tartarian dogwood. If you like to cook with fresh ingredients, Then, don't waste time with pretty flowers. Plant some chives, rosemary, or a full vegetable garden. If your living room roasts in the summer sun, maybe it's worth planting some deciduous shade trees. Know that it's never too late. Maybe you've never pruned a plant in your life. Maybe you're not sure what pruning even means. Maybe you've lived in your home for 5 years or more and have never even done anything to the yard. It doesn't matter. It's never too late to start. The most famed landscape architect in American history didn't design a park until age 35, didn't commit to profession until age 43, at a time when the average American male could only expect to live to be about 40. After a short stint as a surveyor, Olmsted nearly died of scurvy, sailing to China as a deckhand, ran a farm for 6 years without ever turning a profit, reported on the Confederate South for the New York Times. Then he designed one of the greatest public parks the world has ever seen. Design for now and later. Like the best gardeners, Olmsted was patient, understood that his landscapes would take time, lots of time, to fully mature into masterpieces. He planted a hemlock tree in the carriageway of his brick-lined home and office, knowing it would be decades-long wait for the desired effect. He also understood that people need more immediate payoff. As they joined the soil of Central Park in 1858, he and Vaux made sure to have at least one major feature ready for the public at the end of the first year, the lake, which people could skate on, allowing them to enjoy the new park even in winter. It will take years before this season's saplings cast summer shade or grow boughs big enough for kids to climb, and it's worth the wait. But you also deserve to enjoy something now, whether it's a whimsical stone path, some berries to pick, or a tranquil spot to sit and entertain. Welcome to my yard in May of 2020. I hope you enjoyed our little stroll.